Hello. Thank you everyone for your attention. This is Alfonso, one of the founders at Crossmint. And today I'm going to be presenting this workshop for Shapecraft Hackathon of how to build an AI agent that can build stuff on chain using smart wallets on the Shape blockchain. Very aligned with the world building theme around Shapecraft. To get started at the beginning, I'm going to explain a little bit about what Crossmint does and how it can help you both in the hackathon as well as outside of it. And then the majority of this presentation is going to be actually showing code samples that enable you to build it. Let's get started right away. So what is Crossmint? Really quickly, so we're a company that we're on a mission to bring basically the on-chain economy to the real world. We think the economy the real world is very inefficient. There's no ways to track who owns what. Payments go through very old, very expensive payment rails. And at the same time, it cannot be that we have computers passing the Turing tests, becoming better than humans in many different tasks, but everything in the economy is like slow, outdated, and inefficient. We think the blockchain and primitives like wallets, NFTs, cryptocurrencies will help make all of this very efficient in the next 10 years. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help developers like you with easy-to-use APIs that simplify many of the processes that are needed to bring the economy on-chain or the on-chain economy to the real world. First, we have APIs to tokenize assets. They can help you, for example, take inventory on a Shopify store and list it online, on-chain. We've helped companies like in the ticketing space, airlines, and traditional retailers, and so on, make all their assets available on chain. Second, we have APIs that allow to custody these assets and interact with the blockchains based on smart wallets, smart contract wallets. And finally, we also have payment APIs that make it easy to buy and sell all of these things on top of open standards using stablecoins, credit card if needed, any token across any chain. And later on, I'll explain how you can use some of these for this hackathon. But before that, I want to explain why do artificial intelligence agents need to use the blockchain? Okay, so imagine this example. You ask ChatGPT, hey, can you buy me a coffee? So it has, it's very smart. And it's like, okay, I know there's a website where I can place delivery orders on coffee to ship it to your address. It may know my address already, may know even my coffee preferences, but it goes to the website, and what's the first thing it finds? Finds a I'm not a robot reCAPTCHA. A lot of the internet as it stands has actually been built assuming that agents or bots are evil. They abuse services created for humans, and there's a lot of protections everywhere that difficult their transactions. There are ways to solve CAPTCHAs. There's ways you can pay for this, but the technology keeps evolving and blocking them. Second, the agent goes to pay, and first it needs your credit card. So you have to trust your agent. Hey, here's my credit card. Go crazy with it. And there's not that many ways in current banks of create a credit card that's like scoped or limited to certain transactions. And then when it tries to transact with your credit card, it may get flagged. There's a lot of these common like 3DS prompts or two-factor authentication. Now your agent needs to know your password as well, or needs to send you an SMS and check it. Starts getting more and more complicated, more friction points. And finally, after all of that, the agent needs to go and pay 3% fees to make a purchase. This leads to a lot of frustration on our AI companions, and we think they're not going to bother with it. They're going to find their own rails. They're built API first for software and AI agents and use those instead. At the same time, not only agents need the blockchain or more modern rails to transact online. Think about how agents are going to progress. Today, ChatGPT is kind of smart. It can help you with one thing or another, but these agents still hallucinate. They're unreliable. They're still not as smart as humans. But if technology keeps evolving, it could be that in a few years, these agents are smarter than us and may try to trick you, may try to take your money or maliciously try to do something with it, or misunderstand your command. And you ask it to get coffee, and maybe it builds a coffee shop instead with all the money you have in your account because it thinks it's more efficient, for example. They could go off rails. So we need a way down the line to also protect agent developers from their own creations. And blockchain also helps here. Blockchains can provide a bit of a cryptographic straitjacket of sorts on AI agents that basically limits what they can do in a way that's not hackable. Smart contracts provide an excellent primitive to be able to first restrict what an agent that's intermediated by them can do. For example, you can set a guardrail on a wallet agent, on an agent wallet that says you can only spend $500 a day, or you can only interact with certain smart contracts. And the most important thing is, by this logic being on chain, first, it's unstoppable unless you stop the entire blockchain. And second, it's actually very easily to formally verify it. They're like these modules or constraints you can set on chain end up being no more than a few lines of code, and it's within the realm of what software can actually provide. Foolproof, 100% guarantees that that code is not exploitable. So not only we think that in the near term, blockchain will help enable commerce by making it easier for agents to transact online, we also think it's the right long-term primitive to be able to block or constrain what agents can do so we can actually control them. Okay, but enough abstract talk. Let's jump into the hackathon. First, I want to talk a little bit more concretely. What tools does Crossmint give you that you may want to use? Second, we'll talk a bit about use cases. And finally, I'll walk through actually building one of those use cases. Okay, this is just an illustration, reading it in text. Concrete tools that Crossmint offers. They're all have 5 minutes quick starts, so it should be easy to get started, try them out. And you can combine them and mix and match them as you'd like. You can use Crossmint for some of these, can use another provider, or build your own support for some of the others. We provide them all here for you. We'll give support and special credits if anyone needs it, so that you're successful and kind of just use whatever is helpful to you. The most immediate one is Crossmint provides an API to create smart wallets. It works on the server side, so it's convenient. You don't need, for example, a user to log in or things like that. And smart wallets, at the end of the day, they're wallets like the one you can have on your MetaMask, but they are embeddable within your app. And it allows to basically have an AI agent that has an identity, an address, that can hold funds and assets like NFTs, and can interact with smart contracts on the blockchain. And using smart wallets instead of, like, let's say, a MetaMask or a hard-coded wallet key has a bunch of benefits. First, it has sponsored gas, so you don't need to be doing first putting Ethereum there to pay for gas. You don't need to be calculating how much gas to spend or be worried about gas fees going up and down. It's all kind of handled for you. Second, you can have this key delegation model. This is a bit complex. I won't go into much detail, but it's extremely useful if you're launching projects to production, where you can have one wallet, have multiple keys that can control it, and different permissions on each key. So you could see yourself as the owner of the agent having full keys over the wallet, but then you give the agent a temporary key that lasts 7 days, or a key that only allows them to interact with ERC20 tokens or something like that, to make sure that you don't break the bank and lose your money with it. And you, as I was saying here, this is related to delegated keys, but they can have permissions around it. We also have APIs to tokenize anything. This is a REST API. It's like literally one API call that can create an NFT. It deploys a smart contract, uploads the metadata, puts an NFT in a wallet, and could be used, for example, to create virtual real estate. Even if you don't use agents, you may be interested in using this one. It could be used for airdropping assets to other items, to other users. Maybe your agent can distribute passes to other people. Kind of anytime you want to create an NFT, this can be done in a single line of code. You can send these NFTs to wallets, even to email addresses and phone numbers. Payments, we have a checkout that works both headlessly through an API, as well as a UI that you can integrate in your website to allow your agent to buy anything, or potentially sell things and have humans pay for it. So check it out as well. And this one is a bit more advanced, but we also have a verifiable credential SDK that allows you to issue credentials that are cryptographically verifiable, where you could, for example, use, for example, for access control. You could say only agents belonging to someone who's a citizen of Lithuania can interact with this contract or something like that, and you can use these credentials for that. This URL I'll post it at the end provides an entry point for all of these. An example use cases that you can build. Really, the sky is the limit here, but some quick ones that I thought about. You can create an automatic trading bot that executes some trading strategies, maybe based on sentiment analysis from Twitter. You can have agents that pay other agents or even humans to get work done. Or you can create an agent that's connected to a Raspberry Pi that checks your fridge, and when you're running out of something, it automatically places an order to buy a Red Bull, for example. Something that we use a lot here at Crossmint. And there's really many other use cases, like anything where there's value being exchanged or you need interactions on chain, we'll be happy to help with and provide support. Okay, so now let's jump into the workshop. What are we building today? So on the topic of world crafting in Shavecraft, see some of the examples are inspired on the creation of a virtual economy where, for example, land and assets on land are all represented by NFTs. So when you have land that is available for sale in an on-chain metaverse, what's the next thing you need? You need a real estate AI agent that can help you buy that land. So that's what we're going to create today. It's an AI that basically you give it a budget and some preferences, and it can help buy virtual land for you, where this land is represented as an NFT. In the interest of time, the way I prepared this workshop is there's code snippets that are screenshot here. You can pause in the video to copy paste them. And if you want to be able to copy them later, just check out in the YouTube video description or reach out to us on Discord, and we'll be sure to put links there so you can copy them as well. Okay, so I'm going to jump through a few of these steps. And as I go through them, I'll explain a little bit of what's happening under the hood as well. First, you have to create a project on Crossmint. When you start developing on Crossmint, we have two different dashboards. There's a dashboard for testnet, which is free to use, and you can create anything you want there without having to put a credit card or anything. And then there's the standard production dashboard, in that one you need to put a credit card because you may be able to do operations on chain that cost money. So we need to charge you for that. To get started and for development, we recommend to use staging. Okay, so what you go is you go to the Crossmint staging console. That's at staging.crossmint.com, or you can search it in our website. There, you will navigate to projects settings general, and then make sure that the wallet type is set to smart wallets. When you create the project, it's possible it asks you, and then you want to make sure that you set smart wallets as the wallet that your project uses. Okay, we will use that later for the agent wallets. Second, you need to get an API key. An API key is what's used to basically authorize all calls against Crossmint. So when you make server-side calls to be able to, let's say, create an agent wallet or perform a transaction, you will need one of this. Okay. So with this, you just go to the API key section on the left sidebar of the console, create new key, and then, very important, you need to add all of these scopes, which are a bit like the permissions, the things that you're going to want to do with that API. Sometimes if you want to use other Crossmint APIs, you may have to go back here and enable more. Cool. Third, basically, need to save this API key for the code samples we're going to go through later. Okay, so you just copy it from here and store it in a safe place. This key is very important to safeguard it. So you would put it in your server application, for example, in an environment variable, and you want to avoid putting it on the client side or on GitHub, as if that does happen, theoretically any other developer could copy your key and start creating wallets in your account, which you don't want. So be very careful about where you store this key, especially when you launch to production. And if you make a mistake and put this key on Twitter, hey, this is my API key, and thousands of people see it, don't worry. You can just go here, delete it, revoke all permissions, create a new one, and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so with this, please be pausing and following all the steps. But assuming you've already gotten your API key, the first step of actually writing code is creating a wallet for your agent. this step during the hackathon, here I'm just going to propose you have a script that you run and creates a wallet. But you could imagine an onboarding UI in your application where maybe the user, like there's the users who manage the agents, for example, and then you may want to create a dashboard for them where they can click a button. Maybe they pay you $1 to deploy an agent or something like that, and you want to call this code from your UI. Typically, this code would be called in a bit of a setup or a dashboard, and not necessarily an AI agent creating the wallet on their own. You typically basically give them the wallet before, and then the agent, what they can do is use the wallet. No? Okay. So again, I think the ideal here is you copy paste the code later, but I'll explain here. Creating a wallet is super simple. First, you get the API key that you had from before, SK staging, blah, blah, blah. Put it there. Okay. And then you need to write a function like this, create wallet. What is this doing? It's calling an API, the wallet's creation API. And you will note here, especially when you're doing this in production, we're calling the staging endpoint. Okay, this is an endpoint where everything is free. Okay, with your staging key. Later on, when we move this to production, we will change this to use www. But this is, again, if you're interacting with a real shape blockchain. Okay, so we'll call staging.crossmint.com, and we're making this API request, this post, pass the API key, and I think the important call here is you're passing some parameters. So we're saying we're creating an EVM smart wallet. EVM is for Ethereum virtual machine. It works on all EVM chains, including Shape. And in this particular case, this is a bit of advanced, but basically what we're saying here is this wallet it can be controlled by an administrator with a custodial wallet. This is something that Crossmint manages for you. Basically, it makes it easier for send those transactions without having to store any key on your own. It uses Fireblocks, which is, for those of you who know it, is an MPC key guardian that basically makes it impossible for the private key of your agent to be leaked, be it Crossmint, yourself, or even Fireblocks themselves. The key is never present, so that makes it extra secure. So you call this, and then the important thing is when you get the return back, you're going to get a result like this. And what you want to do is save the address of the wallet as you will use it later to send transactions. Okay. Cool. And here, as signer address, you will see a Fireblocks wallet that's actually guarding the wallet. The important thing is you basically need to store this wallet address for later. I have an important note here. You can ignore this maybe at the beginning for the hackathon, but please, if you're reading this to create a real-world application, there are some things that we should talk about. You can check our documentation or ask us on Discord, but in production, we may want to use something else as the signer, as what controls the wallet. Why? Some complicated regulatory issues, but basically, typically you may want to make sure your user is the one that has the key to the wallet, not one that you are managing yourself as a developer. And so there's some ways to achieve this with Crossmint. You can use passkeys, having the developer memorize a passphrase, or use lit actions, which is a decentralized trusted enclave network that can allow you to guard those keys and have the agent basically have their own key in a way that achieves non-custodialness from a regulatory standpoint. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Just remember, if you're launching this in production, and especially if you're a developer in the US, check our documentation or talk to us before launching, as this could have regulatory issues. But obviously for a hackathon or for staging, this is the most convenient. Okay, what's the next thing we want to do? We need some money on that agent's wallet. You're going to basically give the agent a few USDC dollars so they can go and buy real estate property on your behalf. For this, Crossmint also has an API that has a faucet for obtaining USDC directly on a chain. One thing I want to note is at this time, Shape testnet doesn't have official USDC yet from Circle. Okay, so for the testnet, this is just for development. We recommend using Sepolia, which is the testnet for all Ethereum. However, as things evolve, we may provide a link for example, bridging testnet USDC from Sepolia to the Shape testnet. At the end of the day, though, the important thing is when you're using the mainnet, when you launch into production, that's where you want to make sure you put here Shape when you have real funds. Okay, so this API, what does it do? Again, you copy paste this code, and what we're doing here is we're calling this API staging.crossmint.com, and then you put your wallet and the balances API, and you're just basically requesting you want put here amount. It could be 10 USDC dollars, 100 is the maximum. You want the currency USDC, and again, what's the chain in which this money is being received. You call this, and you'll get a response like this that will give you, okay, this is the full balance, and this is all the money your wallet has, and you're ready to go. Super important. This doesn't work in mainnet. If you want dollars into your wallet, unfortunately, Crossmint cannot print. We're not the Fed Reserve. So what you would need to do is like get that money. Maybe you already have it in your own account, or you can use an on-ramp like Coinbase, and then bridge the money to the Shape testnet. This is a bit outside of the workshop today, so we can finish on time. But happy to also provide instructions for that if you reach out to us on Discord. Okay, fourth step. You want a UI to interact with your agent. This is the first time there's actually some AI here. Unfortunately, this is a bit longer. That's something we can cover in 5 minutes. But what I recommend here is basically just following this link. Vercel has a super easy to follow and to use SDK for AI that not only has ways to interact with OpenAI APIs and things like that abstracted out for you, it also has pre-built UI components and examples like this one, where you can basically just have an interface like this. So imagine taking this, you fork it, remove this, and put, hey, I'm your real estate agent, AI agent, change the colors a little bit, and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so how to do this? Just search for Vercel AI SDK, go to their UI section, and the guide we want to follow is chatbot with tool calling. Okay, with this, you're building an AI that can not only respond to questions, but they can actually use tools, which we'll use later to basically purchase the land. Okay, and then when you go through this guide, you will see there's a tools section. So here in the tools section, we will create 2 different tools. One is one that gets real estate listings. And second is a tool that allows you to purchase a listing. Okay, let's start with get real estate listings. This one is a stub for now. Important things you need to do here is you add a description that the LLM is going to interpret. So this is important. It's something that ChatGPT needs to understand that says, hey, if the user wants to see all their listings, this is what this is going to do. So show the user all available listings. And here you would implement a way to return all your metaverse land that's available with maybe an address or however you want to represent them, a price. And very importantly, this needs to be the locator. This is an on-chain address for your NFT. Okay. I'm assuming in this case, maybe you're using one of the existing land metaverses available in the hackathon, but you can also create your own NFTs that represent land using Crossmint's minting API. Please check that out in documentation if you need it. Okay. But the idea is you get inventory of properties, either some that exist already as NFTs listed on chain, on Shape, or you create your own. And then you may want to build your own database of which are all the ones available. And in this case, I'm hard coding these 3. Okay, with this, the AI can take parameters from the user, and if the user says, "Hey, give me all the available listings," it can fetch them, and it can actually you can ask it to filter by price and things like that, and it'll be able to figure it out. And then there's a second one, which is purchase listing, which we're gonna fill up later. But the key difference here is we have a parameter, which is gonna be a string, which takes the locator. And again, ChatGPT will understand that this is the locator here, and it will be used to purchase. Okay. Okay. Next step, we have an agent. Hopefully, after this, that you can talk to. It can list your listings. Okay, and you have a wallet that you created later. Now we need to start putting these things together. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to show you the code for actually purchasing an NFT, which would be one of these listings. This code will be added here. You want to add it in the execute inside this, but here I'm going to show more like step by step all the steps that happen. Okay, first you want to create an order to purchase an NFT. How this is done, sorry, I hope the text is readable on YouTube, but we're using the payment as APIs from Crossmint. Basically, we're able to allow you to purchase an NFT, and you can pay, even if your agent has money on Shape, you should be able to pay for an NFT that's maybe on Base, or vice versa. You may have NFTs that are listed on Shape, but you don't have liquidity, you don't have money on Shape. Your agent just has money on Base. This purchase API allows you to buy cross-chain. Okay, so in this particular case, you would construct an order which has some of these parameters, like, okay, who is the wallet address that is where you want to deposit it, and here you would put the wallet address we created before. And then for line items, we would pass, I think there's a typo here. They should say token locator. Apologies for that. But basically, you put token locator and pass the locator that is being taken as parameter here. Okay, this locator. You pass this here. Okay, and the rest is kind of copy paste the code. But basically, this is sending the order to Crossmint. Crossmint is finding the order on chain, generating the payload that you need to sign, and sending it back to you. When you get it back here, you call this API, and this is going to fetch, let's see, I think we have it here. You call this second one, purchase with crypto, the second function. This one you can just copy paste, okay? And what this is going to do is it's going to give you back, sorry, I think it's here, sorry. Here you put in the payer address, which is the wallet that we're using to purchase the NFT. And then what this is going to do is it's going to give you the transaction that you can send to your wallet to purchase the NFT. Okay, this is a bit of a diagram of how the entire flow works, in case you're wondering, but you don't need to necessarily memorize it. Just copy paste the code. And with this, what would happen? I don't have a great UI here, but basically, you will have your AI agent with the agentic interface that you can talk to, and it's able to understand in natural language, show me all the listings, filter listings that are higher or lower, like priced in certain order, and you can add things like maybe the listings can have some parameters like this is waterfront or is 3 stories, square feeders. You can add whatever you'd like. Your agent should be able to filter to those like that, and then you can say, hey, buy me this one, and the agent will know to use the wallet to basically pay. A few important notes. I think we're almost at time, but if you take this to production, there's a few things you want to do. First, make sure you set the chain in all the calls we've done to Shape. Okay, it's just changing the chain parameter from testing to production. Second, I forgot to put it here, but you want to create an API key when you set up the Crossmint project in www.crossmint.com, which is our production console. Okay, this is the one that can interact with mainnets like Shape. Second, if you're making really like this into a startup, you want to think about the regulatory framework around wallets. You want to make sure the agent wallets are non-custodial to reduce your liability. Don't worry about it too much. Just remember you need to do this and reach out to Crossmint for help. Okay. And lastly, you'll need to acquire real funds. So remember, you want to get those from either an on-ramp like Coinbase or things like that. Feel free to reach out to us for help as well. And just a handy link for resources. But as a reminder, we have the agent toolkit documentation at crossmint.com. If you go to documentation, and then these links, by the way, will be copied here in the YouTube. There's an assistant toolkit entry point that you can go to. There's a quick start for smart wallets server side. And finally, you can also visit us in Discord and ask questions there. With that, really excited to see what you all build. Happy hacking, and don't hesitate to ask any questions. Thank you for your time.